Sorry. COVID cough. I have the Omicron Delta V6 189-24 variant. So, you know what the fucked up thing about COVID is? The fucked up thing about COVID is... wait. I'm sorry. What's up, people? And what's up, Soul Nexus? This video is specifically for you. The fucked up thing about COVID is, I don't know if I've ever had it. Never been tested, never been vaxxed, none of that shit. Just been going through life like it's actual, life. So, it is what it is. So this was a really interesting topic. And we're going to start with Grant. And I think you're absolutely right on his analysis. I know you didn't go into a lot of detail, but Grant was essentially... And see, this is where I think that a lot of Westerners, especially... Because, like, the Tantras weren't... And when I say the Tantras, what I'm talking about is a specific class of Buddhist texts that are super sacred and holy. They weren't available until recently. Like, until you got certain publishers that were putting them out there. So these people, they had vague ideas about Dharmakaya. They had vague ideas about Dharma itself. They had to hear it from somebody that heard it from somebody that heard it from somebody, that type shit. This is why, of all the videos I've made, my Buddhism series is the one I stand on. If that makes any fucking sense. So you have these Westerners that are coming in with their categories that are attempting to understand Eastern categories, which are totally fucking different because, especially when you get to the deepest levels, they're non-dual. The value that I find in Grant is that he understood non-dualism. As a matter of fact, the opening parts of Night Side to Eden is an ode to non-dualism, actually, sort of. And the sort of part is it's the interesting part because it's kind of like I don't know how to put this, but it's kind of like, we used to call it Peking, the capital of China, right? We called it Peking until they told us, no, it's Beijing. You only called it Peking because some guy that came over here didn't understand that we speak differently than you. That doesn't just go for language, that goes for ideas as well. And so you can kind of understand non-dualism a little bit, and I think he did, to be honest with you. I think those first two chapters of Night Side of Eden were kind of like a brilliant misunderstanding of non-dualism, to be honest with you. And so I'm not going to call this video the rape of Dharma or anything like that. I don't even know what the fuck I'm going to call it. But there is kind of a misappropriation when you really don't have that arat or city or whoever, whatever you want to call him, a master, a chempa, anything like that. You don't have that guy to teach you. You can get confused and you can get lost. And my value, when I look at what his, he's also essentially writing a grimoire because he's not essentially, a grimoire is just kind of like you putting down your working. And I think if you read him that way, I think you'll understand him and the things that he was going through to try to understand those levels. So I don't judge him the wrong way. I don't think I do. And so like what he was trying to do was he got that nugget, that little nugget. That's why when I talk about black belt level is like, if I'm a black belt and you're a white belt, I can choke you out immediately. And if you go to the spiritual level on that, if I give you a nugget of black belt level teaching, you can choke yourself on that because it's like a seed and you put it in your mouth and then you choke on it. And I think that sort of happens to everybody. I mean, Blavatsky, I can mention a lot of people that thought Crowley, a lot of people that thought they understood the East. They really didn't understand it. They thought they understood non-duality. They really didn't understand it. So if you look at it as a biography or some shit like that, sure, that's great. As far as the Typhonian, again, that's just it's a reflection on what he thought he had to do to cross the abyss, if you understand what that means. And that's a Western concept, if that makes any fucking sense. So I read him as more of a biography, even though it might seem like a treatise. Like, especially when you get to the last parts, where he's talking about working the layers. It's like what he's talking about is his working. That's what makes it a grimoire, right? Because he's giving an exposition of his particular working in this regard. So that's always the way I read Grant. And I don't throw shade on Grant. I mean, I think he's somebody that's looking for a connection. He's somebody that's looking for Dharma. Dharma is the equivalent, east to west. If you wanted to translate it, it would best be translated into logos. Some people say logos, but I think they're wrong. It's logos. It's two hard O's. But that's just me. I'm funny about fucking pronunciation, but it's truth, it's the way, it's the path, it's the Tao, if you wanted to translate it into fucking Chinese or whatever the fuck. So when you look for that, there's an old saying. If something's lost, when you find it, it's always the last place you looked. And you know what the Taoist response or the Zen response and all responses are? Yeah. Because once you found it, you stop looking. That's the essence of what I'm talking about. So, you can read all these fantastical fucking, trying to re-envision the tree of life into a negative sphere and all this stuff. You can envision that too. I've created some of my own. Comic books. And you called it out too. You said it was comic books. You understand what's going on here. So the concept behind Dharma is basically that there really is no work to do. There is no project. The magical project is for, I'm not going to say it that way. I think the magical project is understood differently depending on which level you're on. So the higher your level, you understand it differently. And I think this whole thing about, and you said the Draconian tradition, I've always understood Grant to be the Typhonian tradition, which Typhon was a serpent god of, I think, ancient Egypt or something. Greece and Egypt, at a certain point, are hard to divulge. Or, I said divulge, that means to speak about, but I really meant to disentangle, if that makes any sense. So you have to kind of understand how you're going to, what does this mean? Is it Typhon? Is the serpent, or is it a god, etc.? None of it makes any difference, because at the end of the day, you're the vector. You're the vector. And this is what I would get away from. And this is why a lot of the people that you talked about, and I don't even mention names because I don't want to talk about people like this, because I think people like this are self-destructive. And in a lot of ways, not really, and what they would call me is they would call me a pussy. They would say that I don't take it to the darkest level. You're not taking it to the darkest level. Really? Do I have to sit in a puddle of shit to understand Dharma? I don't think so. I think you're taking it to the darkest level because you're weird. Not you. I'm not talking about you, Soul Nexus. I'm talking about these other fuckers that seem to want to... Look, you can either project the world on yourself, or you can project yourself onto the world. Those are the two paths. Or you can understand that very path making is something to be transcended. That's why I'm all hand path. I'm not left hand path. I'm not right hand path. I hope that makes sense. I mean, this is already long. This is 10 minutes in. Great question. Great question. Seriously, take all the... When you read a book that somebody writes, or you read a thought that somebody thinks, oh, you're not at that level yet, but don't worry about it. You'll get there. You're going to have to understand that it's going through these vectors. It's going through like a washing machine. You can either stop it, meaning stop the washing machine, then what happens? All the clothes fall down. Or you can just sit there and watch it. or you know, you can, there's a third thing you can do, but that takes a lot of skill. So anywho, yes, thank you for that question. I would say stay away from anyone that tells you that they have super secret knowledge they wanted. There is no super secret knowledge. There isn't. It's all in front of you. It's all available to you. It's not secret. Everything they keep secret is the things that they think that you will not be able to get on your own. If that makes any fucking sense. I had to learn that the hard way because, you know, you can go through all the belt levels theoretically in Western tradition. It's done differently in the Eastern traditions. You can go through all the belt levels. And then they say, well, you still have to, you know, the secret chiefs. Guess what? Secret chiefs are a lie. It's always been a lie. Are you getting worked? Or are you working the path? That's the ultimate question. So thanks for the awesome thoughts and questions, man. That was super awesome. You know I don't make videos for just anyone. So hey, Soul Nexus, awesome. Thank you. Oh fuck. I have a hard time turning my phone off.